Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Home Tech podcast. I'm Seth Johnson, joined as always by Jason Griffin. Jason, how's it going, man?
It's going great, Seth. How are you?
Good. You have a good 4th of July long weekend, I hope?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty mellow, obviously, with the two kiddos here running around. We've got our hands full, but we definitely had some time to relax and just sort of hang out and listen to my neighbors set off a hell of a fireworks show here in the neighborhood. They did it up right this year.
Nice. That's always good. I'd say almost always good. Like this year, we were worried about our neighbors usually do something like that, and we were kind of worried that this is kind of the first fireworks that Rose would have gone through, and we weren't really sure exactly what was going to happen. But as usual, she just slept right through all the noise. So yay!
Yeah, yeah. Our kids both weren't too disturbed by it either. But it's funny. I do look forward to a day when fireworks once again become more than something I worry about waking my children up.
Right. Yeah. Well, I went down to I didn't want to go all the way downtown to watch the fireworks, so we went to like a top of a parking garage that was about a mile or two away.
Yep.
And it's like a 7-level parking garage. You get way up there and you can see over all of the trees and everything. So not only do you get to see the actual fireworks from downtown, but you can see like everybody else
nice
shooting at the aliens and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was really cool, and we had a pretty good time until like nature took over and it started pouring down rain, and we just ran one level down and continued to watch the fireworks.
Yay, Florida.
That's gonna have to be title.
Yeah, we had fun. Probably the most adventurous thing we did is we've got a really nice pool here at the rec center. It's part of our HOA. And what's cool, this is the second year in a row that we've done it. On the 4th of July, there's a big parade that goes on, and our kids are still too young to sit through a parade. And so we go over to the pool the morning of the 4th of July, and we pretty much have the place to ourselves. It's super quiet. It was a really nice day out, so we enjoyed that. It was a good time.
Nice. Well, you wouldn't get away with that here in Florida. If there's a nice day with the pool, people are usually there.
That's it. All right. Well, let's jump in. We've got a number of news stories here. We're gonna touch on a bit of a slower news week, definitely. I think with the holiday, a lot of people are taking it easy. We also know in the professional side of the industry here, and the CEDIA side, our big trade show is less than just about 2 months away, almost exactly, as we're sitting here and recording. And so I know that's going to come up. Going to come up fast, and the news cycle is going to ramp up. I think everybody's sort of got their nose down right now, getting things ready. So I really look forward to seeing what CEDIA brings this year. We've got Cody in the chat room with us here tonight. Cody, good to hear from you. Thanks for joining us. And it sounds like he's looking forward to CEDIA as well out in San Diego this year, which will be really nice. But you and I, Seth, going to kick around a few of these news stories. Before we do that, as always, want to send a big thank you, as I just alluded to, our chat room, all of our supporters there who join us in the chat room, and everybody who's become a patron of the show. If you're interested in learning how you can support our efforts here at the Home Tech Podcast for as little as $1 a month, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support. Once again, that's HomeTech.fm/support, and we want to send a big thank you to everybody who's done that so far.
Absolutely. I will echo all of those thank yous, and once again, thank everybody for taking time out of their afternoon, night, and joining us here to listen to us ramble on here late at night on a Thursday today. We're kind of off schedule.
Yeah, off our normal schedule. Wanted to give ourselves an extra day there after the holiday to get our ducks in a row. But let's jump in here. We've got a few stories related to voice-enabled speakers, the Echo competitor category, as we've been calling it. We're still looking for a better name or acronym to round that out, but it does look like another entrant rumored here off in the distance potentially is Samsung. Not a huge surprise to hear that. This is an article from 9to5Mac, which is actually citing an article from the Wall Street Journal, who it sounds like did the initial reporting here. And it sounds like Samsung is developing a voice-activated speaker. This will be powered by its digital assistant Bixby, according to people familiar with the matter. So not a ton of detail here. Sounds like this thing is a little ways off, but will be interesting to see what they bring to market.
Yeah, isn't this Bixby the one that can't speak English yet? Like,
it is. I frankly didn't realize that until I was reading this story. Apparently, they've been plagued with issues of the English speaking version of Bixby, and so that is rumored to be one of the things that is potentially holding this thing up. It's reportedly internally codenamed Project Vega. Has been going on for more than a year. According to these sources, but the timing is, and I'm quoting here, far from determined.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a major market, I guess, would be English-speaking markets. Typically, that's where they're targeted first. So I don't know. What I find amazing is I ran across this story on Tech Pinions actually today. It's kind of interesting. We came across this too at the same time. It's called the tipping point. Let's see, a voice speaker tipping point. And they were talking about how Amazon had released the Echo back in November 2014, and they've kind of just had the market to themselves for 2 years. And now we're starting to see more and more devices come online, and people jumping into the game. We have Google Home, November 2016, Fabric, which I don't even remember, from October 2016. Later this year, we have Alibaba. Okay, they're getting in the game. Apple HomePod, of course, we all know about that at the end of the year. They say late 2017, which usually means January 1st before you're going to see one.
Yep.
And then it looks like next year, I mean, there's a ton of things like the HP Harman Kardon Cortana stuff that we've heard about. Onkyo, I think they're doing another Cortana. Lenovo, I forget what they're doing. I think it's Cortana as well. But it's just a ton of like things that will be coming out, and I think this is great. I mean, everybody has kind of, I think everybody in our circle has really put like the Amazon Echo into like this voice control of the home category, and I'm not really sure that's what the device. Well, I know that's not what the device initially was made for, right? Like you can go back and find that goofy video where the weird dad is explaining to his strange family like how to use this, and he's yelling at his wife. No, you don't have to yell at it. It has far field microphones, and I don't know. I think that it's something that has fallen into the lap of the Amazon Echo, that it does actually really well, but it doesn't do it all that great. And I think we're going to see with all this competition, especially from Google Home and Apple, and heck, Samsung too. Whenever we see this thing come to market, we're going to see, what they have in mind for home control. Like this would be a first party home control solution, right? Like we would have. Amazon doesn't have home automation product. Google does in the form of Nest. Apple does in the form of HomeKit. Samsung does in the form of SmartThings. So I think from a home automation perspective, I think we haven't even seen what's going to happen with these voice control systems, whatever we're going to try and call them. I know we were talking about that.
The search continues. Yeah, you mentioned it there. Alibaba is getting into this game as well, which I totally did a double take when I read that headline. They're a very large e-commerce Chinese company. This is the Tmall Genie X1 voice-activated speaker going on sale August 8th. This is in China only. So this is a...
Wait, does it come in duck or chicken?
That is a very good question, Seth. I don't think the article cites what animal form factors this device takes, but I'll have to dig into that and get back to you.
Yeah, well, I know that's actually the Japanese one we were talking about a couple weeks back, but man, I told my wife that we talked about that, and she was all over me like to go online and try and find where we can buy this thing, like just import it from Japan, because they're really cool. And I don't know what it would do or if it would do anything here. I think it only speaks Japanese, so kind of be a useless device. But maybe it's one of those things that you could like take apart.
You could say you had one and
put yeah, exactly. You could take it apart and put an Amazon Echo inside of it or something like that.
Oh, that sounds like a sort of like the Hackintosh. That sounds like a Seth project, not a Jason project.
The Hackintosh or the wipe warmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those things.
All right. Well, moving on here, a couple of quick stories we want to touch on in the over-the-top streaming video conversation. First one, just wanted to point people towards a link that I thought was very well done. Digital Trends did about a 7 or 8 minute video comparing Hulu, YouTube TV, and DirecTV, DirecTV Now. So, 3 pretty prominent streaming services there, comparing and contrasting and talking about the different offerings. And again, I think a great resource if you're thinking about cutting the cord, making that change. I know that we've pointed to a couple of websites on recent shows that highlight some of this, but the more the merrier. I still do think that information gap is a tough thing for a lot of people to overcome because it is such a new market. So anytime we see one of these resources that's well put together, I really like to call people's attention to it.
Yep. And I guess you need to call your own attention to it, right? Because you're joining the fray, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm pretty sure at this point that I want to say July was the last month. I'm horrible because I don't actually know that. But I know that I'm close, and it's just gonna be a matter now of digging in and making the time. I do think, and I've talked about this before, Seth. I think that's one of the things that pay TV companies and companies like DirecTV have in their favor right now is that you get so comfortable. Every time you look at the bill, you go, "Gosh, this is just ridiculous." But then you pay it, and then another month goes by, and you haven't done anything about it because we get busy. And so I'm going to have to definitely carve out the time to really dig into this. But I've been slowly planting the seed with my wife. I think I've got the general buy-in for making the switch. I've just got to make sure that whatever we get is reliable and easy to use.
Yep. Yeah.
That'll be the key.
I can't say reliability has been the biggest problem. Figuring out what is on where is kind of tricky at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's kind of like DirecTV Now, like not DirecTV Now the thing, but what you're using is cable or DirecTV or whatever. You have all these choices, and you end up watching 3 or 4 things, and that's it.
Right. Right.
So, hey, good news though. Hulu is doing an add-on for HBO now for an extra $15 a month. So you can just kind of get Hulu and tag on HBO as well.
I saw that. Yep, Hulu's got a strong offering. I really, I think that they're really, this rounds it out. I know HBO is not a channel that my wife and I have watched much in the last year or so since our son was born. We just have been too busy to really get into, sitting down and watching shows. But we loved all of the HBO miniseries for years. That was a Sunday night ritual at our home. Game of Thrones and Boardwalk Empire and you name it. There was a ton of those HBO miniseries that I just absolutely loved. And so if there was a premium channel that I was sort of had high on my must-have list, HBO would definitely be it. So you're right. This is welcome news.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's shift gears again here. A fairly quick story that we wanted to touch on. This one sort of flew under the radar a little bit compared to some of the other similar stories we've seen recently. Meritage Homes, which is another a very large builder. I think, Seth, you were researching this before, and you said maybe the 7th or 8th largest builder here in the States. So somewhere up there. Very, very large home builder has announced that they will be including a suite of Wi-Fi enabled home automation solutions in their newly constructed homes sold after July 5th, 2017, which was yesterday as we're sitting here and recording this. So Meritage is joining the ranks of these other builders and getting into the game. They're calling it the M.Connected Home. I'm not so sure I like the name there, but it works. Automation suite includes what you would expect. Key components of the home such as Wi-Fi enabled lighting, video doorbells, thermostats, smart locks, and more. So yet another builder taking an active role in the smart home.
Yep. Very interesting. Towards the bottom, of this article, they say that all the features are intended to be compatible with various smart speaker control devices, which our homeowners prefer, such as She Shall Not Be Named, the Amazon Echo Tube thing. I almost said it. Claire, Nexia, Google Home, Vivint, and many more. So, wow. It's pretty interesting. I wonder what they're using for. They say Wi-Fi enabled light switches. So I'm kind of like geeky. I kind of want to know what they're using specifically, what brands. But unfortunately, this article we have doesn't
Right.
really give us any clue as to what brand of lighting they're using.
Yeah, details are a little bit sparse, and it, like I said, kind of flew under the radar. I happened to cross it in one of the Google alerts that I have set, linked to a NASDAQ.com. So it looks like just a press release, perhaps, that they posted up there. But interesting to see, nonetheless. After we talked about the latest round of builders getting into the game, I did a piece for Residential Systems, really dissecting this landscape, and I find it fascinating to see builders running headlong into the space, and I'm a fan of it. I think that it's great for the smart home overall. I do think there is plenty of questions still remaining about how the overall delivery and the service and the full ownership experience of that technology is going to play out. I think these builders over the years have gotten very good at dealing with warranty type support issues when it comes to a broken water heater or a plumbing issue. But when their phones start ringing about, the lights not turning on or their app not connecting to the Wi-Fi or whatever it is, I'm sure they'll have plans in place to support it, but they're all going to come at that a little bit differently. And I think the ones that'll ultimately provide their homeowners with the best overall ownership experience are going to be the ones who really leverage the expertise of local, professionals who have been doing this for a really long time.
Yep, absolutely. I don't know. I think the home builders, like you said, they've figured out the warranty process, and they'll put these particular products into that process, and I think they can figure it out. The customer service, believe it or not, is something home builders actually do fairly well. And if they have to hire a subcontractor, or in this case would be a dealer, to install and service that, they'll do it. And when somebody calls them, they'll be sure to pass that information on out to the dealer and make sure it gets fixed. So, speaking of having the best customer experience, Crestron has announced that they're going to be selling the full line of Sonos products through their normal purchasing system. So basically, to all Crestron dealers, they'll be able to go out and purchase Sonos product and directly have it shipped directly from Crestron. That's pretty good news for Sonos, I think. Yeah,
I think so. I think it's great news for Crestron dealers, mostly, is people who come to my mind. Control 4 does, not with Sonos, but they do a lot of this very well, in my opinion. If you're a Control 4 dealer, their website is set up to not just sell you Control 4 products, but they've got some partnerships, and of course a lot of these other companies they've started to acquire, like Triad speakers, for instance. So they're really trying to become like a one-stop shop, and I don't necessarily think that Crestron is lacking in that department. They've got products and categories for every situation that you could think of, but they didn't really have like a dedicated media streamer per se. I mean, I think the Autonomic was the closest option that really everyone was using. I'm kind of feeling for those guys. I'm hoping they can maintain a position in the market. I got to imagine this is not great news for them, but of course they would probably take issue with that. I know they've got some features and things that the Sonos stuff doesn't. But at the end of the day, this does speak to that blurring of the lines. That was a big theme of ours, right, over the last a year and a half or 2 years ago. That was one of the main things that we were really talking about, it coming off of Cedia and just this sort of convergence between brands. I mean, I have a hard time thinking of two brands in the home technology space that a couple of years ago were more further apart on the sort of spectrum of their target buyer and where they fit, right? Sonos was the DIY home audio solution, although it's always been sold through dealers. That's not ever really been their target market to go to that high-end luxury, and Crestron has really been positioned up there. So it's interesting to see them working together.
Yeah. What I saw on here on the initial press release and website. I mean, this is encouraging. To be clear, I want to kind of back up and talk a little bit about the website, not on Control 4's specific website, just in case anybody who's listening is not a dealer and they're on Control 4's website clicking around looking for other products. That's on the back end, like for the dealer facing website.
The dealer.
Yeah. Where you go in and you put your purchases in. you can actually buy a bunch of other different third-party product through Control4's I forget what they call it, some kind of marketplace. So it looks like this is kind of this idea, and I think it's a really good idea for maybe some extra money for these companies like Crestron and Control4, to just basically act as a broker and resell other product. I mean, they're essentially becoming a distributor, which I work for a distributor, so I can't say that we're all excited about it, but it's it is money for these companies that they weren't otherwise making before, and actually, I can tell you that it definitely does open up the marketplace for more people to actually use the product if they can just buy it from one place, like you said, one-stop shop.
Yeah, and this isn't. We should mention as well. This isn't completely shocking news. We did see, or we have been seeing, increasingly sort of warm relations between the two companies. I know that Crestron is really not really. They are the only company that has the ability to run a full version of the Sonos app native on Crestron touch panels, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, homes that have that sort of a system, right, with dedicated Crestron touch panels. I mean, these are not exclusively, but by and large, these are going to be high-end projects with very demanding clients, and having the ability to provide that Sonos experience right there on the dedicated touch panel, not be doing, page flips to web apps or anything like that, or giving them a watered down integration, I think is pretty neat. So Crestron and Sonos have been working, closer together over the last year or two, and not totally shocked to see this. But again, I do think the juxtaposition is what catches everyone's eye when you see this story.
I think this is probably one of those things to watch at CEDIA this year. Last year we got the shock, I guess, that Crestron was doing that integration with Sonos. This year, I'm betting there's going to be more news to be heard. Sonos integrating more with this, doing that. I'm hoping we see another new API of some sort. I've heard rumblings that there could be, but not sure. So
nice. We're getting into juicy CEDIA predictions already. I like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to write it down so I remember for CEDIA. But yeah, I think that we could see more along this line. I know URC is actually doing some work with their touch panels. They're going to be able to do app flips like you were talking about. So maybe it's not too long that everybody kind of gets into this game, and instead of one app to control them all, we're using many apps again to control them all.
Definitely. Well, we will definitely keep you posted as we hear more, and we'll look forward to seeing how Seth's prediction plays out.
Great, yeah. Just
here
throw it all on me
in September. I'm horrible. I never make predictions, and it's not because I'm scared to. It's that I like don't think of it, and then all of a sudden CEDIA is here, and it's like, another year's gone by, and I didn't actually sit down and make any predictions. So maybe you'll have to hold my feet to the fire a little bit this year, Seth.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm looking on the calendar right now to make sure that we write a CEDIA prediction show.
Get it on our Trello show board there. The CEDIA prediction show. Force the issue. Make me go on record. But here's a actually kind of our last category of stories here. Just going to quickly touch on a couple. Very, very brief story from CE Pro. Savant Home Automation now works with IHG. So IHG, of course, is the remote systems management, or RSM, solution that's been out there forever. They're the original company that come to this space, and they've really been I would say a pioneer in that RSM space, which is really rounded out now with other offerings like Domots and Backpack and Oversee and Krika, and those are really the main ones. But one of the things that I recall from years ago when we were working with IHG, we were also a Savant dealer at the time, and they just didn't really work together. The IHG could ping a Savant host and tell you if it was responding to a network ping, right? But that was about it. There was no further integration there, and I don't know exactly the reasons why there weren't, and why this took so long. But I'm I'm glad to see it. I really am a big believer in these RSM solutions, and the remote tech support that they enable, I think, is really critical to the future of the home technology experience. And this I think is welcome news.
Yeah. So now that you're not a Savant dealer, and I don't want to like say that like there's going to be anything negative next, but Savant is generally known to like not really work well with others, or not really play well with others. They kind of want to do everything themselves.
Yeah.
So this is kind of big news for Savant dealers and for Savant in general, I think.
Yeah.
That they've kind of sourced this out to somebody like IHG. I think it's good.
Yep. No, I think it's great. You're right, and I don't think that's a secret, right? I think that's pretty common knowledge amongst people in the industry, is that Savant kind of does their thing, and I'm sure they have their reasons for that, and I respect it. But I guess what I wasn't saying as accurately as I wanted to is like I don't know exactly what changed, right? Like what was stopping them then and allowing them to do it now. And maybe it's because Madonna's back as a CEO and is just taking a different stance company wide on how they integrate in with the rest of the industry, right? And provide that great customer experience. So I don't know, but I think it's great news. I know there's a lot of people out there who use IHG who are also Savant dealers, and this has been a long time battle to get these two companies working together.
Yep, absolutely. Well, there's one more remote management company in the news, and they seem to always be in the news when it comes into this topic. Domotz has got a new partner with TrendNet, which they manufacture, I guess, a bunch of different types of hardware. I know I've seen them out there in the wild, so to speak. So this is another I guess mark on the board, on the leaderboard, I guess, for Domotz. Kind of a pretty good deal for them.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, you say leaderboard. I think certainly as far as coming out of the gates swinging, right? That's Domotz is really a product that wasn't even out there a couple of years ago, and they've really come out and made a splash in the RSM space, and this partnership with TrendNet. I know I've heard of TrendNet. They're a fairly, I think, large company and well known. I've never personally worked with their products, but I think that this is to me something that I'm confident we're going to continue to see more of in the standalone appliance, that the little black box that you plug in and put on the network to do your RSM. It may not go away entirely, but eventually it may be less of a majority of the installations, whereas maybe this RSM type of technology, the software platform, is just integrated into more devices, right? So it's just sort of there. It's not an additional box you have to buy just for that purpose, and I think we'll continue to see more of that. And so this appears to be a good deal for Domotz users and of course for TrendNet as well.
Well, I don't want to like make another CEDIA prediction, but I think Domotz is going to be another name that we talk about a lot at CEDIA. I mean, it was a couple of weeks back. They picked up a number of like VP level or C level people from Luxel to run the company. I think by CEDIA time we're going to see a huge amount of additional partner offerings and people building Domotz directly into systems. Just a prediction. I kind of do know some other stuff that they're doing because I got an Infocom. I got the little, hey, look at this.
You get the inside track with your working with a distributor now. That's the CEDIA predictions. I don't know if we're going to do any sort of scoring system this year. I may need a bit of a handicap.
Well, yeah, handicap. Well, you got to do one, right? You don't have to get it right. You don't have to get it wrong. You just have to put one up there. So I just think we're going to hear a lot more of that name come CEDIA time. So
yeah, it'll be really interested to see what happens in the RSM space as CEDIA develops. It's been one of my top picks of the last couple of years at CEDIA, quite frankly, in terms of the significance of that space. Again, I just think it's a really important technology and will continue to develop and give dealers more options, and whether or not you want to go out and use it as part of a recurring monthly revenue strategy, or if you just want to use it as a way to streamline and reduce your service costs and provide your clients with an excellent experience. There's a ton of different ways that RSM can really add value to your business as a professional. And I would even make the argument that as an end user, this technology is very interesting to watch because maybe you have a house full of smart home gadgets, but you travel for work and you've got a spouse and children at home who can't get the TV on, and it would be nice to be able to have a little bit of visibility into that, right? So I think there are even applications in the DIY market as well. Yep, absolutely. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap the show up this week. Like you said at the beginning of the show, not a very busy news week. I'm sure as we approach the upcoming show for our market, I suppose we'll start seeing more and more hints being released, and maybe we can make some additional predictions. But I've got 2 up there. I'm gonna have to get you on the board. You got 2 on the board. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm a little behind. I will keep that in mind. And yeah, a little bit of a slow week. I think there was probably a lot of people just maybe enjoying a cold beer and a couple of hot dogs and taking it easy. And we'll hope that they get back to work so that we've got plenty to talk about here in the coming weeks. And like you said, we'll really look forward to CEDIA here, which is going to be coming up fast and furious. So we'll have to get some pre-show plans put together, and maybe even Cody actually mentioned it in the chat room, maybe a HomeTech gathering, a HomeTech meetup while we're out there in San Diego. I wonder if we do a HomeTech live. I wonder what the odds are on us. That is ambitious. I know. I wonder if we can pull that off. Well, now that you said it on air, I think may not have as much of a choice. Yeah, right. That should be fun. Talk about audience feedback, huh? Yeah. All right, Seth. Well, thanks a lot. Want to extend one last thanks again to our supporters. If you're interested in learning how you can support our efforts here, one last time, that's HomeTech.fm/support. So with that, Seth, I will let you go, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again next week. All right, sounds good. I'll talk to you then. All right, take care.